Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a little bit about my last week in games. This will also be a bit of a special Sunday recap since it is the final one for 2018. So I will also be taking a look at some of the games that have stuck with me the most that I played during the last year. But first of all, let's maybe start with the YouTube channel itself. I feel like it's done really well in the last year. We have achieved 17,000 subscribers and 6 million lifetime views at this point. All of that is thanks to you guys, thanks to your support. So yeah, a massive thank you. I'm super grateful for every view, for every sub and for every comment, because you know that's what keeps me motivated to keep making videos every single day. While it is pretty intense, trying to keep a pace of one upload every day is a decent amount of work. It is for me all about fun. It is a hobby. It is something that I enjoy, do because I enjoy it. And so on that front, I'm really happy that you guys are sticking with me. But I must also say that I'm not taking requests. I'm not doing anything against what I enjoy, against what I find fun, and it's going to keep going like that. So I'm planning to just play the games that I want to play, make the videos that I want to make, and that's about it. It's all about having fun for me here with the channel. So let's get started with some EVE Online. I did play an average amount of EVE Online last week. I in fact have been working on a project for early 2019. I think I've got a goal in mind, and we are going to try to make that happen. Looking back at 2018 for EVE Online, it has mostly been in maintenance mode. I've been keeping up with my routines, but I haven't really done anything all too special. I did go for the Triglavian ships. I definitely went for those skills, and yeah, a couple of viewers have supported me greatly with that, giving me one of at least each of these Triglavian ships. So the cruiser, I think it's pretty good, but it's unfortunately not as good as the Gila. For exploration, for instance, the Kikimora is absolutely an amazing looking ship. And then I still have the Leshak, the battleship, which I want to test out as well. I think we'll test that out in like level 4 missions or something like that, but I'm still working on those skills. Yeah, for 2018 that has been one of the coolest parts for me, I think, were those new Triglavian ships that come from the Abyss. They're really cool, unique looking, unique weapon system, so I think that that's something that was pretty damn positive. For the rest, as I've said, I'm mostly keeping up with my routine. So it's my PI, it's my blueprint copy business, and then it is of course keeping the services up and running in detail, so that anyone that wants to can have a base of operation there where they can do research, manufacturing, some moon mining, and some reprocessing as well. So all of that does take a little bit of effort. It's mostly just fueling stuff back and forth and then putting up the moon, but it is a routine. It is something that I do, and part of what I do when I log into to EVE Online, which I do every single day. And then most of that actual game time in EVE Online has been spent exploring. It is by far my favorite activity in EVE Online. So we tried out different types of ships, which was actually pretty cool. You guys do seem to enjoy it when I put the fitting in the comments or in the description of the video. And yeah, that's something that I've incorporated into my EVE Online videos as well at this point. And looking forward to 2019 is definitely going to be more exploration, and that is basically what I enjoy in the game the most. And unless CCP comes out with another different activity that strikes a chord with me, that is probably going to remain that way. The Abyss, it's cool, but when it was first launched, it felt pretty damn unrewarding and way too risky to go into tier 4s, tier 5s and things like that. It's a little bit better with the extra loot now, but I still personally prefer exploration. And then there's a second really big reason I feel as to why I want to continue doing exploration. It's the crazy prizes at the moment. Just yesterday I found an armor wrapper, a C-type armor wrapper that was valued by the system at 144 million. I bring it out to Jita and it's actually worth 230 million ISK. So there's crazy prizes for faction pieces at the moment that you find from exploration that makes that, which next to the fun that I'm having with it, super rewarding. And so my plan for 2019 at first, it's going to be to try and build up a second layer of activity on top of that exploration. So I'm planning to use the the ISK that I'm making from that activity, and I'm planning to put that into some industry. It's been too long since I've done that, and we are definitely going to try and make that happen. So I'll need to find goods with high margins, goods that maybe I can sell locally, but the main plan is to do exploration, gather loot that's high value, bring it all to Jita, sell it there, and then buy resources, bring those back to Dital, and do some manufacturing with stuff that I can then try to sell at an even greater profit. That should be pretty cool. It's going to be a nice adventure, I think, and we'll see where all of that takes us as well, of course. So EVE Online, for me, still my main game. I play it every single day. I'm planning to continue to do so, and I'm really curious to see as to what CCP is planning for the game in the future. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about Path of Exile. It's actually a game that I've been playing since the new League came out, which is also the new expansion. I think it's very, very cool. It's also a free-to-play game, so it's accessible to anyone, and it has basically convinced me at this point. I've been making several characters. I'm not into like end game. I'm not mapping, or I don't have a super powerful character. But what has helped me a lot is, of course, doing a guided build with a very specific set of builds and gems and all of that stuff. That has given me lots of insights in the game. I'm also heavily supported by Zyhark, who plays a lot of Path of Exile himself, and who keeps giving me tips. I can get to go to him with any questions that I have, and of course that always helps to stay motivated in the game. Yeah, I think I've got like 300 hours total in Path of Exile at this point. So for the very first time, almost, I would say, in a free-to-play game, I actually am supporting the developer. So I paid for some in-game currency, and I went with what I find to be most useful, which are the stash tabs, including a currency stash tabs, which means endless stacking there. Very, very handy. But yeah, Path of Exile is absolutely an amazing game. And I'm going to, I think, continue to play it as long as I have fun. As I said, EVE Online is my main game, but at the moment for this week and last week and probably the upcoming weeks, I think I'll spend some more time in Path of Exile as well. We'll see what my favorite builds are. I'm definitely a totem fan. I think it's because it's so easy to play with totems, but I also have some cool uniques that I think might be super powerful, and so we might try even more characters. At the moment, I'm still in the exploration phase. I want to see what kind of builds are fun for me, you know, try to learn all of the mechanics and things like that. And basically, if I would go more hardcore, I think I would save that for a next league, really plan out a character, really try to push for like the maps and things like that as well. But all of that is for the future. But right now, yeah, Path of Exile is the one game basically that that I'm motivated enough and that I enjoy enough to say that, all right, I'm actually going to play 10 hours of Path of Exile on my free day or something like that. So that happened a couple of times, and that's something that I've been missing in most of the other games for 2018. So good job, GGG. I'm having super lots of fun with Path of Exile. And that was basically my last week in games. Really, it's been EVE Online and Path of Exile. So next up, let's get started with some of my more memorable games for 2018. On the #1 list is Stellaris, an incredible strategy game, a grand strategy game, also sci-fi of course, and I made several series on that as well. My favorite playstyle is definitely the machine races. They also again make it a little bit more simple basically when it comes to some of the resource mechanics, because you only need energy and then minerals, at least up until the last patch. You only needed energy and minerals to grow your empire there, and that's just a lot of fun. It's definitely also a game that you need a decent chunk of time, like a couple of weeks, where you say, all right, this is gonna be a couple of Stellaris weeks and we are going to build this type of empire, try and make it happen, see what happens in the game, who we encounter, if we need to go to war, if we want to go more of a peaceful route. All of that is of course possible. There's a huge amount of replayability because while I've mostly been focusing on hive minds and machine races, there's lots of other options as well. A bit heavy on DLC. I think that is typical for Paradox, so you can actually buy like a dozen DLC I think by now for Stellaris, but lots of them I have, and I feel like they added quite a bit to the game. And it's still going, of course, because just now, right after my last playthrough, which that series is still running. They came out with a new patch that completely overhauled the planet system, so the pops are gone, all of that is different, and that is something that I'm planning to explore as well in the future. So yeah, Stellaris, definitely one of my favorite games that I've played in 2018, and I'm planning to do a little bit more, because as long as Paradox is actively developing and supporting the game, they come out with really new mechanics, and they basically from time to time put out a huge patch that completely redesigns lots of core systems for the game, and that's something that you know, makes you come back, because it's super interesting to see what they make of it. Next up we have the World of Warcraft. So I have been playing a decent amount of World of Warcraft in 2018. What drew me in was the trailer for Battle for Azeroth, right? Alliance against Horde, finally. Another war. No longer are we all good friends and going up against the one big foe, such as in Legion. And yeah, they basically did get me to play some more World of Warcraft. Focused mostly on two characters. Number one, an elemental shaman. Absolutely love the concept of the shaman with totems, you know, ranged character as well, powerful spells, including AoE, but never came into the meta. It was even promised, I think, that the shamans would get like a full rework for patch 8.1. That's not there either. So somewhere in the summer, a little bit after a couple of months into BFA, I think I dropped him and I started an Affliction Warlock, and that's really more my class. More instant spells, and you know, that dotting power is just absolutely amazing. If you play your cards right and if you can focus on the right dots, you can do incredible amounts of damage in battlegrounds, and yeah, that's what I enjoy. Not having to be casting the whole time, which makes you quite vulnerable, but you get more mobility. Not that you have mobility, a lot of mobility spells as a warlock, but basically you're just moving around a lot more, throwing your dots on all the opponents, and so you can react a bit more quickly when there's 3 or 4 of them that all of a sudden switch to you, which for the elemental shaman can be quite a lot trickier to do, especially, well, with BFA they lost the gust of wind ability that could like throw you a little bit away from your target, and yeah, that's something that I feel has really been missing for the shamans, unfortunately, in World of Warcraft. They don't have any love from Blizzard, and they're completely out of the meta, I feel, both in PvP and in PvE. There's niches, right? There's players that can make it work, but overall I think that they're a little bit underpowered, and yeah, I feel happy with my Warlock. So my experience in general in the World of Warcraft has still been positive, in the sense that it is a very polished game. Of course, it's a working, a good MMO, a very solid MMO. And throughout the last part of Legion, it was a lot of fun for me to rediscover the game. You also had all of these catch-up mechanics, so you basically could just do world quests and then really gear up and very quickly compete with what was happening. After that, we had the launch of BFA in the summer, of course. Went decently hardcore, not too hardcore, with the launch of BFA, and they had a good amount of fun at first. I even did some dungeons and a couple of mythics just to check it out, but yeah, that's not my playstyle. I know that. I'm more of what can I do solo, and then we've got the battlegrounds. That is definitely something that I enjoy as well in the World of Warcraft. And yeah, for the battlegrounds, I actually have a pretty good system in BFA, at least for the first couple of months, which was the conquest point system. You can cap those out just doing battlegrounds and doing a few arenas and things like that from time to time, and that gives you decent, not the best, but decent PvP gear that allows you to compete when it comes to battlegrounds, which is what I'm doing mostly. So overall, that was a pretty good time. Unfortunately, at the tail end here of 2018 for the World of Warcraft, things are not so good. Patch 8.1, while it brought some new mechanics, feels super unrewarding. For instance, I have mostly 370 gear from the conquest points from just doing regular battlegrounds. All the rewards are exactly the same. Almost none of them are upgrades for me. Feels very, very disappointing. There is some new content like the invasion points, but there is absolutely no reason to do them. They don't feel rewarding at all. And so here at the tail end of 2018, yeah, the World of Warcraft is basically ending at a little bit of a simmer. My activity is down. I still try to play the game every single day, try to keep up at least with the daily emissaries, which you can do just, you know, through world quests, but I don't feel motivated to do lots of PvP games or anything like that, because none of them yield any real rewards in my opinion. That might change in January. I think that it's on January 22nd or something like that, that they'll up the reward scheme with to bring everything in line with the new raid tier that is coming out. But overall, yeah, here at the end of 2018, it is not a great time for the World of Warcraft. Another game that has stuck with me is Hearthstone. I actually had a good time with Hearthstone last year. I think that while Hearthstone, you know, as a card game has its problems, especially if you want to compete against players, you will have to fork out a lot of money at the moment just to get the cards, and that's not working so well. But Blizzard did come out with a mode that I absolutely enjoy, that I think was super fun, and that is the PvE mode, where you go up against several challenges that continuously ramp up in difficulty, and you get some very cool unique powers and cards depending on the character that you choose to run those with. So that in my opinion was a lot of fun. Also pretty good content, I feel, to make videos out of. Not very popular with you guys, which is unfortunate, but as I've said, it's all about having fun. And yeah, that was an aspect of Hearthstone that doesn't require you having cards, because you constantly draft from cards as you go through the different challenges anyways. And very unique, lots of fun to try and defeat some of those harder challenges, and very RNG heavy as well, because it's not against another player. You never feel like you're at a big disadvantage. It was tuned right, I think, to be difficult enough, challenging enough, and to keep you going, and it was super fun. It's definitely a mode in Hearthstone that I enjoyed. The reason, one of the reasons why I remember that is also because Blizzard sent a mail around saying that there's like a new PvE mode at the moment. I'm not exactly sure, I haven't kept up in like that last half year on what's happening in Hearthstone, but I must say, if you're looking for like a step into a card game for the very first time, and it doesn't have to cost you anything, that would be Hearthstone. Those PvE games, they are absolutely a blast, lots of fun to do. Not super rewarding, you don't get a lot out of those, but yeah, it's just a nice little time sink that I enjoy doing. I thought that the challenges were pretty cool, and yeah, making the videos on those runs was also a lot of fun for me. So yeah, Hearthstone, definitely something that I remember from 2018. Not sure if I'll jump in 2019, but that part of Hearthstone, I do feel like Blizzard absolutely nailed it. They surprised me as well when I saw that that was part of the game now, and in a very good way. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about Skyrim. That is also one of the games that I've played in 2018. It's an oldie, but still keeping up in the fun department, in my opinion. It is an incredible world that Bethesda has created there. It's a lot of fun to try and go through there with different types of characters, right? Archers, summoners, or just a strong tanky warrior. All of that is good fun. I think that I played the Legion quest line, so it does have certain quest lines that are a little bit more extensive, that show you lots of parts of the world and things like that, especially the fort conquering part of those quest lines when it comes to the Legion. And I'm not even sure what the other side is called anymore, but yeah, lots of good fun still in Skyrim. An extremely strong game, and yeah, one of the Elder Scrolls series, as long as they're single player. Although I still feel like the Elder Scrolls Online is not a bad game. The last time that I played it, it doesn't feel like the Elder Scrolls, right? It's got too much MMO in it, too much you know, wrong loot dropping from the wrong types of characters and things like that, to really be an Elder Scrolls game. And so it's, for me, yeah, the single players are definitely a step up from most of the other games, and Skyrim has been one of the best one of those that I've replayed the most as well, including in 2018. So still going very strong. At this point, of course, I don't think that I'll play a lot more Skyrim, because we know that Bethesda is actively developing the next one, the Elder Scrolls 6, and I'm really curious about that, of course. Unfortunately, if I understand it correctly, it's it's still gonna be the same engine. I personally do feel like it is starting to really show its limitations, that they're stretching it to its very, very limit at this point, but they're still going with it. And I feel like even in Fallout, you can see that it's starting to lag behind on some other shooters. You can see the constant, the same types of bugs, the same types of problems and limits. Yeah, when you look, for instance, at how dragons fly through the air, that's not exactly the best types of physics and things like that. So it has its limitations, but the worlds that Bethesda creates are absolutely amazing. Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep supporting them, especially in the single player game department. So if there's one game that I will, in all likeliness, pre-order, it would be the Elder Scrolls 6. And that despite the fact that, just like Blizzard, which seems to be struggling a little bit at the end with all their problems, not only with the World of Warcraft, but also the whole hubbub with Heroes of the Storm, where they all of a sudden cancelled next year's esports scene and all of that stuff. Bethesda has also dropped the ball a little bit with Fallout 76, which was yeah, quite disappointing to a lot of players. Now, I personally do feel like basically they hyped themselves up a little bit too much. When you're super disappointed with the game, I'm still enjoying it actually. I'm playing it a little bit with my brother from time to time, but we were not looking for this hardcore super game experience or anything like that. We were looking for, well, Fallout 4, you know, it's got its bugs, you know, it's got its problems, and it's not the very best looking game. It's not the most stable engine or anything like that, but it's Fallout, and it's a lot of fun to play in Fallout 4. And so we were looking for that kind of experience, but then to be able to play together with someone else, and in this case it is my brother. So we're just, you know, still very low level, but we're just exploring that world, playing together a little bit, shooting some stuff here and there, trying to build up a nice little camp. And we don't really expect a lot more than that. We don't expect some super end game, some super fancy mechanics on bosses or anything like that. It's just, you know, it's a Fallout game, except that you're playing it together with other players. And so yeah, for Bethesda in general, I'm still supportive of them. I'm hoping that they can basically rectify it by going back to their roots, to what they do best, which is of course the single player series of the Elder Scrolls and Fallout. So hopefully we get more news on all of that next year as well. But for 2018, yeah, my better experience has definitely been in Skyrim, and I enjoy that a lot. It's a super fun and nice game that still holds up when it comes to fun, and the world that they created starting to lag behind a little bit on graphics and things like that. And then for the final game that I basically remember for 2018, it is Diablo 3. Yep. Decently fun, also a Blizzard game, of course. You can see that I spent a lot of time in the Blizzard launcher last year. I basically played every single season, never went super hardcore or anything like that, just wanted to get a character through all of the rewards, all of the journeys there, so that you get the full set, and then you get like a unique pet or a unique pendant or something like that. I feel like it is a super casual game. Basically, it's very, very accessible. If you set the same goal that I did, you know, which is just to play every season with a single character, it's very, very doable. I usually got through that in 1 to 2 weeks, so it doesn't take that much time to get through all of these rewards. It's also very friendly compared to when I'm playing at the moment, Path of Exile. When it comes to trying out builds, you know, you can always switch your talents around if you want to. You find a new set or a new piece, you can just adapt everything around what that does. Gear is much easier to understand in Diablo 3, and it does have that Blizzard polish. I do still feel that, especially on like movement skills, Blizzard has that nailed down, whereas Path of Exile is a bit more tricky because it's not always super obvious where you can click, and you always need to click to your destination on all of those movement skills, whereas Blizzard, you know, has other things that like push you forward. Those feel super good. You know, having now been playing some Path of Exile, that those are some of the things that I've been recognizing and that I'm also struggling with. I'm basically used to the easy stuff from Blizzard, and so defense movement in Path of Exile is quite tricky to do, but it is much more casual than Path of Exile. If you really want to dive into an ARPG, then of course you can go for Path of Exile. If you're looking for that more casual, just quick fun, couple of weeks in and out, you know, very, very quickly, then Diablo 3 is actually, in my opinion, still a great game for that. Very much one where you can choose a character, and then you can play around with him as much as you want, with his talents, with his abilities, until you find exactly what you're looking for. Or you can always look up a quick guide, and it's really basically all you need is the talent build. Oh, all right, it's those abilities. That's the best. That's the gear that I need. Very easy to get to that end game type of stuff in Diablo 3 compared to what you have to do in Path of Exile. And so it stuck with me because I've played every single season. I actually enjoyed it. The Wizard, Barbarian, definitely lots of fun to be had with those classes, and it is another one of those games where you know, they're struggling as well, Blizzard, right? Announcing Diablo Immortal to be mobile only. I don't understand that. I really don't understand it. That is something that is completely different as well when it comes to Bethesda. I think that they're like the only company that has done it the right way with Fallout Shelter, announcing it as a little side project. It came out on mobile at first, but then eventually they also said, here we go, you get it on Steam, you want to play this on the PC, there you go. It's a Diablo game, a hardcore ARPG. Why would they not make sure that there's also a client of that available for PC? Make it half price, people are gonna play that, and I think lots of Diablo players would have been a lot more happy with what Blizzard is planning for the Diablo franchise when it comes to their announcement there for Diablo Immortal. But overall, Diablo 3, in my opinion, is still a great game. I definitely do not regret having bought that. I got plenty of hours out of it compared to the full price that I paid for it all those years ago. I don't even remember when that was. And still, when there is a new season in 2018, I definitely did all of those. Will I still do that in 2019? Well, if I'm putting this much effort in Path of Exile at the moment, it is again going to be very difficult to be motivated to jump ship to some Diablo gameplay. So I must say that I think that 2018 has been a strong Blizzard year, but and still a strong Skyrim year as well with Bethesda. But for 2019, it's all up in the air a little bit, because they all need to make amends for some of the mistakes that they've made here late in 2018. And yeah, that's basically been my last week and my last year in games, guys. Again, thank you very much for your support, and for all of you guys that are sticking around for this adventure and this hobby that I enjoy a lot. And as always, guys, I'll see you next time.